Hey, you beautiful buccaneers, Falcore here. So ever since I started doing content creation and streaming as a full-time job, I have often had comments from people proclaiming that this isn't a real job, or it's not a life skill, or maybe you should get a proper job like the rest of us. So I did, and they were right. It's a fantastic IPA with a refreshing taste and nutty tones. So this video serves two purposes. Firstly, there are those who are just interested in the development process of my videos, and then there's those who simply don't understand the work and passion that goes into content creation on YouTube. And I'm not just talking about myself here. Any content creator who puts effort into their production, outside of a 45-minute uncut nasal breathing gameplay video, will understand that content creation is not just something you run off in about 45 minutes and then watch Netflix. People have this misconception about live streamers and content creators that they live an easy life, simply playing games and letting a machine poop out a video for us, and then get paid for it and laugh at all those urchins doing their 9 to 5 whilst we sit in a bed of money pooping out sponsored hardware into an energy drinks refrigerator. This is simply not the case, not even close. There is a famous quote from Mr. Mark Twain. Here he is. Not only is he a beautiful specimen of a man, he's also full of shit. The quote is, "Find a job you enjoy doing, and you will never have to work a day in your life." Although I can say this is definitely the best job I've ever had, it's easily the hardest job I've ever had. When you are passionate about what you do, you drive yourself to work twice as hard. You drive yourself to go that extra mile, and you often leave yourself mentally and physically fatigued, more so than any job you've ever had. And I know what I'm talking about. I worked in the complaints department for an internet service provider, and ooh, that stings. So no, Mr. Mark Twain, sat there with your beautiful mustache. My God, that really is an amazing mustache. Your quote is wrong. It should be, find a job you enjoy doing and you'll work harder than ever before. So let me run you through what I do for one singular video. First of all, like all things, you need an idea. This sometimes comes easy, but most of the time it doesn't. When it doesn't, you need to go searching. First, you need to find a topic to discuss, and one you can discuss in length and keep the audience engaged. I could do a video about why palm trees are green, but only some people would find that interesting. Like that one guy in the comments that's literally typing this right now. And the other 50 people who thought they'd be the first to type it. Once you have the idea, you then have to research this idea and make sure the points you bring across are valid, and you don't mess up the story or send people in the wrong direction, which you'll end up doing anyway, as there is always one person who knows more than you. The customer's always right. And then it starts. When producing story-driven content, you first have to write a script so you have something to refer to when... Oh wait, that's happening right now. Whoa. This is odd. Boobies. Pee-pee. Boobs. An average script can be 2 to 3 pages long, depending on the topic of the video. Thankfully, you don't have to rely on correct grammar or perfect spelling, as it's only you who will read it. But you do need to make sure the script flows correctly and keeps the viewer interested. This means with the amount of videos on my channel, I have essentially written 3 novels. And a children's book. Writing a script for a video can take anywhere between 2 to 5 hours. Once the script is done, you then need to talk it out and record the script, and in the process stumble over every single word until you end up with something like this. Hey you beautiful Then you need to spend about 1 hour cutting out all the nonsense and mistakes until you end up with a perfect piece of audio where you don't sound like a bumbling Neanderthal trying to construct IKEA furniture on a motorcycle. Once the voiceover is where you are happy with it, you then need to add filters, normalization so you don't blow people's ears out, EQ presets to increase the bass and treble, and thanks to the wonders of computer science, a background dimmer, so you can't hear my dog chewing the couch or the neighbor farting in his back garden, even though they're epic farts. Honestly, dude, if you're listening, Mad respect. This entire process can take anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. Then it's time for a musical track. Now, this part is tricky. Due to YouTube and other video hosting websites having strict laws where copyright is concerned, you have to make sure your music is either from the game itself or taken from a copyright-free source, like Epidemic Sound, for example. But often the audio you want to use just isn't long enough, or doesn't escalate where you want it to. This is where a background in audio engineering comes in very useful, to turn something like this into something like this. This process would normally take about 1 to 2 hours for a normal person, but I'm an OCD perfectionist, so it takes me about 5 hours. So you have your voiceover and your music, and now the fun begins, the video production. Now, thankfully, there is a lot of stock footage around that you can use for a lot of scenes in videos, but most of the time you need to rely on in-game footage to get your point across. So that means actually sailing to specific islands or areas within the game and getting the footage you want. And when you're waiting for the sun to come up to get a 4-second shot of something, it can be very irritating. This can take anywhere between 3 to 5 hours. Then you have to take that 3 to 5 hour captured video and cut it up into parts that you want, making sure there is no awkward janky angles or funky mouse movements that occurred when you couldn't get that itch on your butt. Especially when telling a story, you want those scenes to be perfect, and in most cases they are not good enough. So that means relaunching the game and getting a new scene again. Ugh, believe me, it's tiring. This can take anywhere between 7 to 48 hours. Believe me, us content creators are a fickle lot. If we're not 100% happy with the way a scene looks, we'll go above and beyond to make sure it does. The amount of time I've spent about 5 hours on a 5-second scene just because I didn't like the way something looked. Ugh. We torture ourselves, we really do. And the irony is, it'll often go unnoticed by the audience. But once you have your scenes, that's where the real work starts. Placing the scenes, editing the scenes, image cropping, panning effects, increasing vibrance, brightness, contrast, creating transitions, aligning color graphs, adding visual effects, text placement, aspect ratios, chroma keying overlays, adding overlay art, cutting the overlay art out because you can't find a transparent version. Kill me. Audio compression, audio dimming, audio gaining, adding an outro, adding an intro, raging it crashes every 20 minutes, and finally, rendering. And breathe. But it doesn't stop there.
Thumbnails.
Background image, blur filter, overlay image, cut that overlay image out again, aspect ratio, resizing, shadows, text overlay, more shadows. Make sure that image isn't copywritten. Make sure YouTube doesn't think it's a picture of Can I please just go to bed?
No, you cannot.
And finally, we come to the end. 12 hours of video editing, but in total, at the very least 50 hours of hard work. 50 hours of brand research, trend research, audio engineering, graphic design, literature, film and media, and technical art, all condensed into a 5 to 10 minute video. And in my case, I try to do this 3 times a week, alongside 15 hours of live streaming a week. I simply do not get time off. Not that that's a bad thing, because I love what I do. But if you want to sit there in your free time to tell me and other content creators that this is not a real job, then can you please tell that to the taxman? Because I'd really love to have a rebate. If you are so miserable in your job that a content creator's profession insults you because you live in a fantasy world where you think it's easy work and easy money, then you better be thankful your attitude towards life doesn't have a downvote button, because it would put YouTube rewind videos to shame. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go eat Angus steak smothered in gold wafers whilst the butler irons my money. Peace out.